Hi guys, today we're taking a look at Ethereum Layer2's such as Manta, Mode, and Karak, a new Layer2 blockchain on the horizon, as well as some very nice strategies to do a 3-in-1, 4-in-1 airdrops, including Superform, HyperLane, and HyperLiquid, as well as some new airdrop claims. So a lot to do, little time, let's go. Starting off with a nice surprise from Synthetix. If you are a staker on Synthetix or Synthetix user, their founder has airdropped a token, meme coin on Optimism, and you will have it in your wallet already. It's not worth much, like $20, $30, but if you're multi-walleting, then you are looking at a couple $100 out of thin air again. Now, looking at other projects, more serious ones, if you're taking a look at ZkSync, we talked about Paymaster before, integrated with SyncSwap, for example. But if you want to make sure to qualify for multipliers for ZkSync Airdrop, make sure to use the original ZiFi platform that uses Paymaster service. This way, you go on zifi.org and choose a token that you want to swap into and from, and make sure to choose a fee token that is not Ether. So in our case, we can use HoldStation, and you choose HoldStation down here and simply make a swap as you would do any other time. Now, after you've done that, you can also go into the Galaxy campaign, because until March 30th, you can simply follow them like on Twitter and use Paymaster and get another special role on Discord for early user. Next one, we have a surprise airdrop from Cosmos. We have another Dymension Stakers airdrop. Aegis, I guess, is going to be rewarding people who are staking Dymension. So another reminder, Cosmos is amazing. And let's take a look at HyperLiquid now. HyperLiquid is basically a perp DEX just like Aevo, but Aevo has already dropped a token, so a lot of liquidity is flowing in this direction. So HyperLiquid is basically letting you actually trade on your own, or you can deposit into vaults of professional traders. And as you can see, some of these APRs are incredible. One of our guys in our Discord has shown us the profits over the last couple of months. They are absurd. It doesn't mean that they will continue in the same order, but it is definitely worth a look. So if you're going to farm HyperLiquid, which has points for quite a while now, you can simply deposit the funds on the platform. You can use either USDC or any other stable coin on Arbitrum. You make a deposit and you are ready to open some long or short positions with leverage of up to 50x, which is obviously not recommended unless you're a pro. But again, if you just want to farm volume, you can just open up huge leverage positions and close them in a couple minutes, not to risk your capital. Another thing you can do on HyperLiquid is the vaults we mentioned before. This has been incredibly profitable earlier, but keep in mind that these guys are real people and they're real traders, which means that at any point they can get liquidated, have a huge mess up. For example, this 1.2k APR, which is really impressive, can also go into minus 500 immediately. So as you can see, one of the guys is Fried Chicken Enjoyer. He had an APR of 5,500 a couple days ago, and now it's negative 34. So please, if you're going to use this, make sure to use play money and not like real serious huge amounts. Other than that, you have something called HLP, which is basically GLP on HyperLiquid. You have a basket of assets, and here you can simply bet against traders' profit and losses. And since traders mostly lose money, the APRs are actually pretty nice. With total value locked of over 100 million, it's not something to scoff at. So next up, we have also a Rage Trade platform, which is an aggregator for perp dexes. And here you can do a 2-in-1 with HyperLiquid, because if you deposit into the HyperLiquid wallet on Rage Trade, you're simultaneously farming both Rage Trade, which is probably going to airdrop a token at some point, and HyperLiquid because it's using their interface over here. Next up, we have a lot of amazing projects in one go. So HyperLane, Layer0, you have Base, which is probably going to airdrop at one point, and Superform. This way, you basically have an opportunity to essentially deposit into a certain vault on this yield aggregator called Superform, and you basically want to go to a chain that is not the original chain of. Basically, if you're depositing on Base, you don't want to deposit from base. You want to trigger Layer0 HyperLane transactions by depositing cross-chain. How this works is you can sort the dApp you want to deploy in by sorting by API. So I like to choose the APY, the highest APYs, obviously, and you can see that those are mostly on base, but again, make sure not to deposit from base. So choose the one that you wish. For example, we can go into Harvest Finance yield aggregator on base, Moonwell USDC, and then you have a very Web2-like experience over here. You go into the checkout box and you choose your funding token. Here you can simply choose, make sure you don't choose base, so you trigger cross-chain transactions, and usually the best routes tend to be between base and Polygon. Now, taking a look at Karak, it is a layer 2 blockchain similar to Blast, Mode, Manta, and others. However, this one is backed by Coinbase Ventures, Pantera Capital, and other giants in the space. Currently, they raised over 48 million at a valuation of over $1 billion. Now, our latest integration and the thing that got my attention is their HyperLane combination, which means that soon you will be actually able to utilize HyperLane to bridge stuff like Stride TIA to Karak network, and this is a very, very interesting development. Now, there is something called a modular blockchain that is going to use their network to also restake on EigenLayer. So they combine modularity and restaking and AI, three huge buzzwords for 2024. So Karak is definitely something you need to keep on your radar. Regarding the ecosystem itself, we are super early, and even though they say that you can bridge with the Karak bridge over to Ethereum and Arbitrum, you can actually only use Ethereum at the moment, and Arbitrum and Optimism could only be used to bridge out. However, the ecosystem is very, very nascent. As you can see, whenever a project needs to put infrastructure in their partners and dApps, that means like it's super early. The only real DEX that you can use, real dApp you can use is currently KEXSwap, and I've tried using it, and you can swap from ETH into ETH. Just seriously, like you can probably import the token contract address, but where would you even find it on Karak network? So yeah, we're super early. It is closed alpha stage, and you can only join using an invite code. We will be sharing the invite codes in our Discord, as always. Next, we have a Manta network ecosystem updates. They're starting their renew paradigm, and one of the latest news was that you can get EigenLayer exposure as well as the native dApp yield from the dApp that you choose to stake and go with on Manta, as well as another Manta airdrop that's coming in late May, sometime before this summer. So how this looks is you will need an invite code as well for the Manta renew paradigm. And this way you simply use some of the dApps on Manta and you get zero, for example, if you use zero LAN, you will use zero ETH, and you have to simply put this to work on their renew paradigm page. And you can get some boxes. They are deposited weekly. The way to do that is to utilize the dApps on Manta, invite your friends, and you also achieve team goals together, but that's like amazing. Of course, the timeline of this is also very, very appropriate for cryptoland. Just like the new paradigm or the renew paradigm campaign will ask you to connect your Twitter, which is an anti-Sybil filtering method. Now, regarding the dApps that you can use to get into this, you can, of course, go a little more degen with these on the top, which will give you more of their native token airdrop. However, if you wish to participate on something a little more known, you can use the most famous DEX, such as Aperture Swap, or the famous lending protocols on Manta, such as Layerbank and ZeroLand. Personally, I've been staking in ZeroLand for months already, so I have some ZeroLand Stone ETH, and if I want to simply use this on the new paradigm, renew paradigm campaign, you would go in the ZeroLand tab and go over here and choose the asset that you have in your wallet. In my case, that is Stone ETH. And if you choose select max, if you're using looping strategies, you won't actually be able to deposit, because if you have any outstanding debt, then borrowing debt, then you will not be able to actually use the full amount, because as you know, the looping strategies are a best way to generate a lot of points. This is what we mentioned before. This is when you supply and deposit, you supply and you borrow against your deposit to basically enhance the amount of points generated. So with my only $300 in assets, I'm actually generating yield on $790 and borrowing $480. This is great as long as you keep in mind the liquidation risks. So always, always, always borrow and supply in the same currency. So your impermanent loss and risk of liquidation is minimized. Now, once you choose the amount that is actually more sensible, you can simply choose like 0.05 and deposit this amount. Transaction should go through. And if you're going to use looping, the best strategy you can use is to have more APY in lending than in borrowing. For that, you can simply lend out your Manta ETH, and then you can borrow Stone ETH. On Manta ETH, you're generating 15% APY and 5% in Zero Land rewards. And for borrowing Stone ETH, you're only paying 2% APY while generating more in Zero Land points and their potential airdrop. So once you have your Stone ETH, you can go over to Aperture Swap and swap either Stone ETH into the normal ETH. And here you can see the rate is no longer as bad as it used to be because withdrawals from Manta are enabled. So you're basically paying 0.015 ETH, which is about $40 worth, to actually loop this strategy, because now you have your normal ETH again and you can simply supply it over here for a juicy 15% APR. Now you can do this as many times as you want, but eventually you will run out of funds. Keep that in mind. Another one you can use is go from wrapped stake ETH into ETH. This one is a little better. So 3923, 3968. Yeah, also about $40 difference. So keep that in mind. You will be generating a little less Zero Land points because this one does not actually provide you any Zero Land points, but it's similar APYs and APRs. Lastly, we're taking a look at Mode. They're also a layer 2 blockchain built by OP Stack with a 5.5% of their token supply reserved for airdrop. They have an ongoing campaign where if you bridge into Mode and you use the ecosystem dApps, you're generating points. Make sure to use the dApps that are generating you extra points. For example, you have Kim Exchange, Swap Mode, and SupSwap. However, if you're going to use a little more known names, then you definitely want to use Ionic or Layerbank. Today we'll be focusing on strategy involving Renzo on Mode, so Renzo restaking protocol as well as Ionic. Now, another thing you want to do is once you are bridging into Mode, make sure to use your main wallet or one of the main wallets, because you will get extra points based on the layer 2 activity you have on that wallet. So once you've got your funds on the Mode network, also you can bridge using a third-party bridge such as Orbiter, but you will only be securing points through using native bridge. There's a very vibrant ecosystem there already, and you can explore it on Mode Network ecosystem. So you can use stuff like Layerbank and others, but we'll focus on Renzo because you can actually use Renzo natively on Mode. So to take a look at that, we are simply going to the dApp and you need to connect your Mode Network account wallet and simply deposit some of your Mode ETH into Renzo ETH on Mode. Once you've done that, you will be able to use this Renzo ETH on Mode in DeFi, and by using this, you also generate eigenlayer points and all the goods we talked about in the previous video. So next dApp we're going to use is Ionic. On Ionic, you can basically supply your Renzo ETH on the platform and generate some nice APY. But more importantly, you can also borrow against this APY as well. So you go over here to the only one that's still accessible, which is wrapped EtherFi ETH, and you simply use the deposit to borrow against it. This way you generate points for the Ionic network and get transactions for Mode network itself. One last thing to mention is that ever since the Dencun upgrade for Ethereum, the layer 2 fees have been so amazing. For example, on Manta and Mode, you're paying like fraction of a penny for every transaction. It's like Solana squared. So keep that in mind when choosing and allocating your time and resources to airdrop farming. And that's a wrap for all the topics for today. If you find the content valuable, consider liking and subscribing. Put the bell notification on for all the time sensitivity of our information. And if you are taking your airdrop game and crypto to the next level, we are waiting for you in our Discord, where we share in real time some serious alpha for going strong for over a year with more than 550 people in our Discord. We also have an airdrop tracking app that helps you keep organized. Till next time, have an amazing day.